The needle pierced Jerry's arm before he could scream. The cold rush of whatever the fuck they were pumping into him hitting like a freight train straight to his heart. "This'll make you see straight, boy," the white-coated orderly snarled, his breath reeking of cheap coffee and holy water, as Jerry's vision blurred into a kaleidoscope of Bible verses scrawled on peeling wallpaper. He was 18, fresh out of high school in goddamn Elmwood, Ohio, where cornfields stretched like judgmental fingers toward the sky, and his parents, good Christian folk with a minivan and a mortgage, had decided their only son was broken, a glitch in God's perfect code that needed fixing at Camp Redemption, tucked away in the piney woods of upstate New York. Jerry's wrists burned against the restraints, leather straps biting into skin already raw from days of prayer circles, where burly counselors in khakis forced him to his knees, chanting about sin and salvation while their eyes lingered too long on the curve of his throat. He'd come here kicking and screaming, literally, after his mom found the crumpled photo in his sock drawer, him and Tyler, lips locked under the bleachers at the homecoming game. Tyler's Letterman jacket slung over both their shoulders like a promise neither could keep. "You're confused, Jerry," his dad had said that night, voice cracking like thunder over the dinner table, fork suspended midair above meatloaf. "This place, it'll help. For your soul." And just like that, they loaded him into the family SUV at dawn. Tyler's frantic texts blowing up his phone. "Where are you? Call me Jay," until his father snatched the device and hurled it into the corn. Now, 3 months in, the drugs were their latest trick, meant to dull the urges, to rewrite the wiring in his brain that lit up like fireworks every time he thought of Tyler's calloused hands on his hips, the way Tyler's laugh rumbled low in his chest like an old pickup engine. Jerry fought it, biting his tongue until copper flooded his mouth, but the haze settled anyway, turning memories into ghosts. He saw Tyler in fragments, the quarterback with the easy grin, the one who'd whispered, "I love you," in the dark of Jerry's basement rec room, posters of classic rock bands peeling from the walls. They'd been careful, too careful, in Elmwood, where the air smelled of manure and manifest destiny, where the pastor preached fire and brimstone on Sundays and the boys in shop class slung fag like it was confetti. But Tyler was the golden boy, heir to the local feed store, and Jerry was just the quiet kid with a sketchbook full of forbidden faces, dreaming of escape to the city lights of Chicago or New York. The door to the isolation room creaked open, and Dr. Harlan stepped in, clipboard in hand, his wire-rimmed glasses glinting under the fluorescent buzz. Harlan was the camp's director, a former military shrink with a buzz cut and a savior complex, the kind of man who quoted Leviticus like it was the Constitution. "Progress today, Jeremiah?" he asked, not looking up, pen scratching notes like claws on bone. Jerry spat blood onto the linoleum, tasting victory in the defiance. "Fuck your progress," he rasped, voice raw from disuse. Harlan's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Language like that won't get you home sooner. Your parents are counting on us. Home." The word twisted like a knife. Home was the wraparound porch where his mom hung wind chimes that tinkled like lies, the garage where his dad tinkered with engines, pretending the world wasn't cracking under their feet. Home was Tyler, stealing kisses in the shadow of the water tower, promising they'd run away after graduation, get an apartment in the Loop, where no one gave a damn who loved who. But Tyler hadn't fought harder. Jerry replayed that last call in his head, the one before the phone was taken. Tyler's voice thick with tears. "They can't do this, Jay. I'll tell my folks. I'll cut off by his father's hand on his shoulder, the drive north swallowing the rest. Had Tyler tried? Or had he folded, like the rest of Elmwood, whispering prayers in the pews while Jerry rotted here? The drugs pulled him under then, a merciful black wave, and in the dream that followed, Tyler was there, not the hero, but the boy with freckles across his nose, pulling Jerry into a field of fireflies, their light pulsing like heartbeats. "We're free," Tyler murmured, but when Jerry reached out, his hand passed through smoke. Days bled into weeks, the camp's routine a grindstone on his soul. Group therapy where boys like him, scared kids from Texas oil towns and California suburbs, confessed fabricated crushes on cheerleaders, their voices hollow as echoes in a canyon. Jerry learned to play the game, nodding along to Harlan's sermons on reparative therapy, all while sketching escape routes in the margins of his journal, hidden under the mattress. One night, during lights out in the dormitory bunk, he overheard whispers from the bed across. A kid named Micah, 16 and sharp as a switchblade, murmuring about a loose window in the laundry shed. "They catch us. We're done," Micah hissed, but his eyes burned with the same fire Jerry felt in his veins. Better done than dead inside. The plan hatched in stolen moments, fueled by contraband candy bars and dog-eared paperbacks smuggled from the outside world. Micah was from Seattle, sent by zealot grandparents after his mom OD'd. He had a cousin in Albany who could wire bus fare. Jerry didn't hesitate. "I'm in." They waited for the storm, a nor'easter barreling up from the Atlantic, winds howling like banshees through the pines. Rain lashed the compound that Friday night, masking the creak of the shed door as they slipped out, hearts hammering louder than the thunder. Jerry's feet squelched in mud, the chill seeping through his threadbare sweats, but freedom tasted like ozone and possibility. They ran blind, breathless, until the camp's floodlights faded to pinpricks behind them. By dawn, they hitched a ride with a trucker hauling lumber, his cab smelling of diesel and despair. "Runaways?" the guy grunted, eyeing them in the rear view. Jerry lied smooth as silk. "Church camp field trip gone wrong." The trucker chuckled, dropping them at a Greyhound station in Syracuse. Micah's cousin came through, $50 and a burner phone, and they parted with a fist bump that said more than words. "Don't look back," Micah said, boarding a bus west. Jerry didn't. He bought a ticket south, toward the anonymity of the city, where a boy like him could vanish and rebuild. Chicago swallowed him whole that summer, the Loop's skyscrapers clawing at the sky like chrome fingers, the lake wind whipping off Michigan Avenue sharp enough to slice doubts. He crashed on a park bench first night, sketchbook clutched like a shield, drawing faces from memory, Tyler's mostly, though the lines came out jagged now, laced with betrayal. Hunger gnawed, but pride kept him moving, washing dishes at a diner off Halstead, where the drag queens tipped in glitter and wisdom. "Kid, you got fire," one named Ruby told him, sliding an extra slice of pie. "Don't let 'em snuff it." Jerry nodded, but the fire flickered low. Letters from home arrived care of a P.O. box he'd scrounged. His mom's cursive pleas for forgiveness, his dad's curt updates on the farm. Nothing from Tyler. Radio silence, thicker than the Midwest fog. He enrolled at community college that fall. Community service hours from a juvie scare, the hitchhiking bust, waived for good behavior. Art classes first. Then business, numbers made sense. Clean lines where emotions tangled. Professors saw something in him. The quiet kid with eyes like storm clouds, turning charcoal sketches into pitch decks. "You've got vision," Jerry, his advisor said, a no-nonsense woman from the South Side. Use it. He did. Internships at startups in the West Loop, coding apps for queer nonprofits by night, crashing on roommates' futons by day. The world opened cracks. Bars on Boys Town where hands brushed without shame. First hookups that felt like rebellion. But Tyler haunted the edges. A ghost in every laugh that echoed too familiar. Years blurred. A degree from DePaul. A corner office at a venture firm by 25. Suits tailored sharp as his wit. Jerry Harlan, no relation to the doctor. Thank Christ. Built an empire on instinct. Snapping up distressed properties in Rust Belt towns. Flipping them into co-ops for artists and activists. Elmwood called one autumn. A realtor's tip about the old family manse on foreclosure watch. His parents, drowning in debt from dad's bad back and a bumper crop of bad luck. Jerry stared at the listing photo, the porch sagging, wind chimes tangled like veins. He wired the offer that night, anonymous through a shell company. Cash, no contingencies. The deed came through on a Tuesday, crisp as new money. He drove back alone, the highway unspooling like a confession, cornfields whispering secrets. The house looked smaller, worn like an old prayer. His mom answered the door, flour-dusted apron over her house dress, eyes widening at the stranger in the Armani. "Can I help you?" she faltered. Jerry smiled, slow and sharp. "Mom." "It's me." The recognition hit like lightning, her hand to her mouth, a gasp that pulled his dad from the kitchen, cane thumping uneven. "Jeremiah," Dad croaked, face paling under the flannel. Behind them, the living room unchanged, cross-stitched psalms on the walls, the same plaid couch where secrets had unraveled. But the real storm brewed outside. Tyler's truck rumbled up the drive minutes later, headlights cutting the dusk like accusations. He'd married the pastor's daughter 2 years back, or so the town gossip went, small-town armor against the whispers. Jerry watched from the porch as Tyler stepped out, broad shoulders filling the doorframe of the cab, that same easy grin faltering into shock. "Jay," Tyler breathed, crossing the gravel in 3 strides, stopping short as if Jerry were a mirage. The air crackled, heavy with unsaid sins. "What the hell are you doing here?" Jerry's laugh came out brittle, like glass under boot, echoing off the sagging eaves of the house that was no longer his parents' but his. Every shingle, every creak in the floorboards now stamped with his name in legalese. "Funny," he said, voice steady as the Chicago wind that had hardened him. "I could ask you the same thing." Tyler stood there, frozen in the gravel, his work boots scuffed from the feed store empire he'd inherited, khakis rumpled like the life he'd settled into. The years had etched lines around his eyes, worry lines, Jerry guessed, or maybe just the weight of pretending, but that jawline, that tousle of chestnut hair, hit Jerry like a sucker punch to the gut. His mom hovered in the doorway, wringing her hands, the scent of apple pie wafting out like a truce offering nobody wanted. "Tyler, honey, come in." Jeremiah's. "He's come home," Dad grunted from his armchair visible through the screen, flipping channels on the ancient TV, the volume cranked to drown out the awkward. Tyler's gaze flicked from Jerry to the older man, a silent question hanging. "You knew?" But Dad's eyes stayed glued to a Bengals game rerun, the roar of the crowd a poor substitute for courage. Inside, the kitchen table groaned under the weight of forced normalcy, coffee steaming in mugs chipped from thrift stores, his mom's famous oatmeal cookies arranged like peace treaties. Jerry slid into his old seat, the wood still warm from childhood suppers, and watched Tyler perch on the edge of a chair, knees bouncing like he was still the restless quarterback plotting plays. So, Tyler started, clearing his throat. You look good, man. City life treating you right. The words landed flat, laced with the subtext of why didn't you call? Why now? Jerry sipped his coffee black, bitter as the truth. It's Jerry now. Dropped the God-bothering name years ago. And yeah, it's treating me better than this shithole ever did. His mom's flinch was audible, a sharp intake that pulled the room tighter. Language, Jerry. We're still your family. Family. The word soured on his tongue. He set the mug down, the clink loud in the hush. Family sends their kid to a torture chamber disguised as summer camp? Family lets the town whisper while their son screams for help. Dad's remote clicked off. The sudden silence a vacuum. We did what we thought was right, he muttered, cane tapping the linoleum like Morse code for regret. The church said a lot of bullshit, Jerry cut in, heat rising like bile. Pray the gay away? Shock therapy? You read the lawsuits. Dad? The kids who offed themselves because family like ours decided love was a disease. Tyler shifted, his hand twitching toward Jerry's across the table. An old habit from stolen moments. But he pulled back, glancing at the wedding band glinting on his finger like a shackle. Jerry's chest tightened, betrayal fresh as the day he'd pieced it together from Facebook crumbs. Tyler's engagement announcement, the baby on the way, the comments from old teammates slapping backs and calling it manhood. That night, after pie crusts crumbled under small talk and his parents retreated to their room with murmured goodnights, Jerry and Tyler ended up on the porch swing, the chains creaking under their weight like old bones. The fireflies danced lazy in the yard, mocking the tension with their carefree glow. I looked for you, Tyler whispered finally, voice rough as gravel. After you vanished. Your folks said you ran off with some cult, but I knew better. Drove to Chicago once, checked every dive bar from Wrigley to the river. Nothing. Jerry stared at the horizon, where the water tower loomed like a phallic sentinel, spray-painted with high school tags. You gave up easy. Married Sarah 6 months later. Saw the pics, white tux, her in lace, the whole picket fence fantasy. Tyler's head dropped, hands raking through his hair. It wasn't like that. Dad threatened to cut me off. The store, everything. Said if I chased after you, I'd end up like Uncle Ray, broke and alone in San Fran, dying of. You know, it's. The word hung unspoken, Elmwood's bogeyman for anything queer. Jerry's laugh was hollow. So you chose the safe bet. The girl who bakes pies and breeds quarterbacks. Congrats, Ty. You're the American dream. But even as the words sliced, Jerry's body betrayed him, leaning closer, inhaling the familiar musk of hay and aftershave that had haunted his dreams through lonely nights in Boys Town. Tyler's hand found his then, tentative, calluses rough against Jerry's palm, now soft from keyboards and handshakes in boardrooms. I never stopped loving you, Jay. Every time I look at her, God, at the kid it's you I see. The way you sketched me that one night, said I looked like a poet under the stars. Tears tracked down Tyler's face, silver in the porch light, and Jerry hated how it tugged at him, that old ache blooming fresh. He pulled away, standing abrupt. Love doesn't fix what you broke. You let them win. The screen door slammed behind him, leaving Tyler swaying alone. Upstairs in his old room, now a guest space with faded band posters curling at the edges, Jerry paced, the floorboards protesting like ghosts of teenage angst. The deed lay on the dresser, a crisp envelope from the title company, his signature looping elegant, Harlan Investments, LLC. He'd bought the house not for revenge, or so he told himself, but to rewrite the narrative, turn the prison of his youth into something sacred. A halfway house for runaways like Micah, walls painted in rainbows instead of repression. But seeing Tyler crack that facade stirred the boy who'd once believed in forever under stadium lights. Morning brought awkward breakfasts and town stares, Elmwood's grapevine on steroids, whispers buzzing from the diner to the feed store. Jerry spent the day with a local contractor, blueprints unrolled on the kitchen table, open-plan living spaces, a community garden out back, rooms for counseling, not conversion. His parents watched wary, Mom's eyes pleading for absolution, Dad's grunts softening to questions about that fancy job of yours. Real estate, Jerry said clipped. Flipping broken things into beauty. The irony hung thick, but Dad nodded, a flicker of pride breaking through the stoicism. Tyler showed up at dusk, toolbox in hand. Heard you need some demo work. Free labor. Old times sake. They tore into the basement rec room together, sledgehammers swinging in rhythm, sweat-soaking shirts to skin. Dust motes danced in sunbeams slanting through grimy windows, and for a moment, it was them against the world again, laughing at a collapsed shelf, shoulders brushing as they hauled debris. Remember that fort we built down here? Tyler panted, wiping his brow. Pillows and Christmas lights, plotting our escape to L.A. Jerry paused, hammer mid-swing, the memory vivid. Tyler's lips on his neck, the world narrowing to breath and beat. Yeah. Except you stayed. The words landed like the hammer on drywall, splintering more than plaster. Tyler dropped his tool, stepping close, too close, the air charging like before a storm. I was scared, Jay. Scared of losing everything. But losing you? That broke me worse. His hands cupped Jerry's face, thumbs tracing jawlines etched by time, and Jerry froze, pulse thundering. The kiss came fierce, desperate, tasting of salt and sawdust, years pouring out in a clash of teeth and tongue. Jerry shoved him back, breath ragged. You think this erases it? The silence? The wife? The kid who calls you daddy while you pine for what-ifs? Tyler's eyes shattered. Sarah knows. Has for years. We're separated. Quiet like. For the town. She wants me happy, Jay. Said from the start it was you or nothing. The confession hung. A lifeline or a noose. Jerry turned away, chest heaving, the basement suddenly too small for the what-ifs piling up. Upstairs, his mom's voice called dinner, a normalcy that felt like farce. That night, alone in the twin bed that once cradled dreams, Jerry scrolled old texts on a new phone, Tyler's number still saved. A relic. Miss you. Come back. Sent years ago, unread until now. The days stretched. A tense tango, renovations progressing, walls coming down literal and figurative. Jerry's parents thawed slow, Mom baking his favorite lemon bars, Dad sharing war stories from Nam over beers on the porch, admitting in gruff whispers, I was wrong, son. Feared you'd burn in hell more than I feared losing you. Forgiveness flickered, tentative as a match in wind, But Jerry held it at arm's length, scars too deep for easy mending. Tyler lingered, a fixture in work gloves and quiet glances, their touches lingering longer, fingers brushing over blueprints, knees knocking under tables. Then the letter came, forwarded from Chicago. Harlan, the camp director, now facing a class action suit from survivors like Micah, who'd tracked Jerry down last year for a podcast interview. "Your story started it," Micah wrote. "Join us. Testify." Jerry's hands shook reading it, the past clawing back. He drove to the old feed store that evening, Tyler behind the counter tallying sacks of corn, the bell tinkling like a warning. "I'm leaving tomorrow," Jerry said flat. "Court in Syracuse. The bastard who fixed me? Time to unfix his world." Tyler's face fell, but he nodded, rounding the counter. "I'll go with you." For backup, the road north unspooled under headlights, pines whipping past like accusations. They talked, really talked, for the first time in years. Tyler confessing the nights he'd driven drunk to the county line, staring at city lights he couldn't chase. Jerry unpacking the hookups that felt empty, the therapy that stitched him back but left threads dangling. By the time they hit the motel off I-90, the air hummed with unfinished business. The room was cheap, faded quilt, neon vacancy sign buzzing outside, but when Tyler's hand found Jerry's in the dark, felt like home. The Syracuse courthouse loomed like a concrete monolith against the gray November sky, its steps slick with drizzle that mirrored the unease churning in Jerry's gut. He adjusted his tie silk, imported from Milan via a client perk, feeling like an imposter in the suit that screamed success, while inside he was still the scared kid strapped to a gurney, Harlan's voice droning like a bad sermon. Tyler parked the truck curbside, engine ticking cool, his hand lingering on Jerry's knee a beat too long. "You got this, Jay. You're the one who built empires from ashes. This prick's just another wall to demo." Jerry nodded, but the words tasted like ash. Testifying meant ripping open veins in public, spilling the rot of camp redemption for judges and reporters and God knows who from Elmwood tuning in on local news. Micah waited inside, all grown into a wiry activist with tattoos snaking up his arms, phoenixes and rainbows, ink as armor. They hugged fierce in the lobby, the kind that said, "We survived. Brother." "Your folks know?" Micah asked, eyebrow arched. Jerry snorted. "Yeah. Mom's praying extra novenas. Dad, he's coming around." Slowly, the hearing room smelled of old wood and older grudges, fluorescent lights humming over rows of folding chairs packed with survivors, men and women in their 20s and 30s, faces etched with the same haunted resolve. Harlan sat at the defense table, older now, jowls sagging under that buzzcut gone silver, flanked by lawyers in $1,000 suits who looked like they'd sue their own mothers for custody. When Jerry took the stand, the room hushed, the bailiff's gavel a punctuation mark on the silence. "State your name for the record," the judge prompted, a no-nonsense woman with salt and pepper hair and eyes that saw through bullshit. "Jerry Harlan," he said, voice steady, though his palms slicked the Bible he swore on, irony thick as the air. The questions came measured at first: dates, treatments, the isolation room with its restraints and sedatives. But when the prosecutor leaned in, "Mr. Harlan, describe the emotional impact," Jerry's throat closed like a fist. He saw it all: the prayers forced from bruised lips, the accountability partners who groped under the guise of brotherhood, the mirror where he practiced straight smiles until his reflection cracked. It wasn't fixing, he said, voice cracking just once. It was breaking. They took the boy who loved drawing sunsets and turned him into a ghost afraid of his own shadow. Gasps rippled through the gallery. A sob from a woman too rose back. Harlan's lawyer objected. Speculative. But the judge overruled, her gaze flicking to the defendant with something like disgust. Tyler sat front row, fists clenched white-knuckled on his knees, his presence a anchor Jerry clung to across the room. When it ended, Jerry stepping down to scattered applause that felt like thunder. The press swarmed, mics thrusting like spears. Mr. Harlan, any message for families sending kids to these camps? One reporter barked, notebook poised. Jerry paused, rain pattering against the windows like impatient fingers. Tell them love isn't a switch you flip. And if you try, karma's got a hell of a return policy. Flashes popped, capturing the line that would headline the Post tomorrow. Outside, Tyler pulled him into a hug that crushed the breath from his lungs, rain soaking them both as they dashed to the truck. Proud of you, Tyler murmured against his temple, lips brushing damp hair. Jerry sagged into it, the adrenaline crash leaving him hollow but whole. Couldn't have without you there. Felt like old times. The drive back was quieter, the nor'easter brewing full force now, wipers slapping rhythm against the windshield. They stopped at a roadside diner halfway, neon sign flickering eat like a dare. Over greasy eggs and bottomless coffee, Tyler unfolded his own scars. The marriage that crumbled under unspoken truths, Sarah's quiet exit to her sisters in Cleveland, custody papers inked with mutual mercy. She's good people, Jay. Understood before I did. Said I was half alive without you. Jerry poked at his hash browns, fork scraping porcelain. And the kid? Little Ty Jr., with your grin and her curls. Tyler smiled soft, pulling out his wallet, a faded photo of a toddler on a tricycle, gap-toothed and gleeful. Ellie. She's 4. Asks about her Uncle Jerry from my stories. I want you in that. If there's room. The if hung heavy, a bridge half built over the chasm of years. Jerry traced the photo's edge, something thawing in his chest. Maybe. But slow. Ty. I've got walls higher than Chicago's now. Back in Elmwood, the house renovation hummed, contractors hammering away, the basement gutted to bones, ready for rebirth. Jerry's parents had cleared out the attic, boxes of his old comics and yearbooks stacked like offerings. Mom cornered him one evening in the garden, shears clipping deadheads from roses with surgical precision. Your father and I, we talked about the camp. Read the articles. We're sorry, Jerry. Deeper than words. Her eyes, blue as faded denim, brimmed. He knelt beside her, dirt cool under knees, and took the shears, clipped a bloom, handed it over. I know, Mom. This is why I'm here. Not to punish. To plant something new. Dad's apology came gruffer, over checkers on the porch, pieces clicking like reluctant confessions. Feared for your soul more than your heart, son. Church twisted me up. But seeing you now strong, sharp, makes me think God's got a funny way of answering prayers. Jerry let it land. No rush to absolve, but the knot in his gut loosened a fraction. The town shifted too. Neighbors dropping by with casseroles and cautious questions. The pastor himself stopping by with a dog-eared book on affirming faith. His handshake firm but eyes averted. Tyler wove in seamless, a constant in the chaos. Mornings hauling lumber, afternoons stealing kisses in the half-built sunroom, evenings with Ellie on video calls, her giggles a bomb on raw edges. Jerry watched Tyler with her, patient, playful, the dad he'd always been destined to be, and envy twisted into something warmer, like roots seeking light. One night, after tucking blueprints away, they drove out to the water tower, parking in the shadow where it all began. Stars pricked the sky, vast and indifferent, the tower's silhouette a relic of reckless youth. "Climb it with me?" Tyler asked, boyish grin flashing. Jerry laughed, real, unguarded, and they did, sneakers scraping rungs slick with dew, hearts pounding in sync. At the top, wind whipping fierce, Tyler pulled a flask from his jacket, bourbon, smooth as secrets. They passed it, shoulders pressed, the world sprawling below like a map redrawn. "I want this, Jay," Tyler said, voice low over the howl. "Us. For real. No more hiding." Jerry turned, bourbon warm in his veins, and kissed him slow, deep, deliberate like sealing a contract. "Then let's build it. Brick by brick," but cracks spidered in the foundation. News of the lawsuit hit Elmwood hard, protests at the church, old classmates demanding Jerry with half-assed apologies or outright hate. One afternoon, a brick sailed through the sunroom window, glass shattering like trust. A note wrapped around, "Sodom's coming home." Jerry stared at the shards, pulse thundering, while Tyler swept up furious, cursing under breath. "This town's poison," Tyler growled. "We should go. You and me, Ellie too. Start fresh in the city." Jerry shook his head, glass crunching underfoot. "Running's what they taught me. I'm done." But doubt gnawed, late nights scrolling hate threads, the house feeling less sanctuary. More siege. Tyler's ex, Sarah, called then, voice tight over the line. "Folks are talking ugly. Ty. Keep Ellie clear." The warning lingered, a shadow on their fragile peace. The real fracture hit at the town hall meeting, called to discuss community values, in wake of the scandal. Jerry went alone, Tyler begging off for a store delivery, but the room reeked of agenda. Folding chairs in the VFW hall, American flags drooping like weary sentinels, faces turned hostile as he took a seat. The moderator, a selectman with a comb-over and a grudge, opened with scripture, then opened the floor. "This Harlan boy's dragging our good name through mud." One farmer spat, finger jabbing Jerry's way. "Camps like that saved souls. Now he's back, flaunting sin in our faces." Murmurs swelled to roars, Bible thumpers rising like yeast, until Jerry stood, calm, collected, the boardroom shark surfacing. "Saved souls? Try shattered lives. I lost years to your salvation, but I'm here owning my home, my truth. You want to talk values? Try compassion over control." The room split, claps from the back, where younger faces clustered, jeers from the front, where old guard hunkered. A woman, Sarah's aunt, he realized, stood, voice quavering, "My nephew. He didn't make it out of one like that." Jerry's right. Enough. Chaos erupted, chairs scraping, voices overlapping, until cops cleared the hall, Jerry's heart hammering as he slipped out into the night. Tyler waited in the truck, face ashen from a text alert. Heard it went south. "You okay?" Jerry slid in, slamming the door. "Better than okay." Felt like fighting back, for once. They drove in silence, hands linked over the gearshift, but the brick's echo lingered, a reminder that some walls resisted demo. Winter clamped down on Elmwood like a vice, snow blanketing the corn stubble in deceptive purity, turning the town into a postcard of isolation where sins festered under hearth fires. Jerry's house, his house, transformed amid the freeze. Contractors braving blizzards to install radiant floors, the sunroom rising like a greenhouse promise against the whiteout. He poured himself into it, blueprints his Bible, each nail a nail in the coffin of the past. Tyler matched him step for step, splitting time between the site and Ellie's school runs, her drawings stick figure families with 2 dads, taped to the fridge like talismans. But the lawsuit dragged, depositions pulling Jerry back to Syracuse monthly, each trip an excavation of buried trauma. Harlan fought dirty, his team digging into Jerry's life like grave robbers. Old juvie records, blurry photos from Chicago nights that twisted hookups into promiscuity. One afternoon, post-session, a lawyer cornered him in the hall. Slick suit, smirk like oil. Settle quiet, kid. Your empire crumbles under scrutiny. Investors hate scandals. Jerry's laugh echoed cold. Scandals? Try survival. And my investors? They bet on underdogs. He walked out head high, but the seed of doubt sprouted. Calls from Chicago partners. Voices cautious. Heard about the press. Optics. Jerry. Optics. Home brought no respite. The vandalism escalated. Tires slashed on the truck. Faggot keyed into the mailbox. Dead roses left on the porch like curses. His parents, now renting the guest cottage out back. Your space, son. Mom insisted with a watery smile, hovered anxious. Dad patrolling the yard with a shotgun more prop than threat. Town's scared of change. He grumbled one night over stew, steam rising like unspoken fears. But we stand with you. The words warmed. A fragile bridge. But Jerry saw the toll. Mom's rosary beads clicking faster. Dad's limp worsening from the cold. Tyler bore it worst. His feed store hit with boycotts. Empty shelves by noon. Moral inventory flyers tacked to pumps. They're coming for us all, he said one evening, collapsing onto the couch amid paint cans and drop cloths. Ellie asleep upstairs in the freshly painted nursery Jerry had dubbed the hideaway. Jerry knelt before him, hands on thighs, thumbs circling knots of tension. Then we fight smarter. I've got lawyers on retainer. Harlan's bleeding cash, the suits gaining steam. Tyler's eyes met his, stormy green, and pulled him up into a kiss that started soft, seeking solace, then ignited, hands roaming urgent over clothes still dusted with drywall. They made love there, on the floor amid chaos, bodies rediscovering maps redrawn by time, scars from surgeries, tattoos inked in rebellion. Tyler's whispers, love you, always, wove through gasps. Jerry's responses choked with the years they'd lost, reclaimed now in sweat and sighs. After, tangled in a throw blanket, Tyler traced Jerry's collarbone, voice hushed. Marry me, Jay. When the dust settles. Ellie wants a ring for her Uncle Jerry too. Jerry's heart stuttered. The proposal casual as a Tuesday, profound as a vow. Yeah, he breathed. Hell yeah. Spring thawed the ground but not the grudges. Mud sucking at boots as the house neared completion. Solar panels glinting on the roof. Community garden plots tilled for seeds of hope. Micah arrived for the ribbon cutting, a van of activists in tow. turning the event into a rally, banners fluttering love wins, speeches echoing off the siding. Elmwood divided. Half the town showed, cheering tentative, the other half picketed at the road, signs bobbing like buoys in Hate's harbor. Jerry cut the ribbon with shears from his mom's roses, Tyler at his side, Ellie's tiny hand in his. To new beginnings, he toasted, mic crackling, and the applause drowned the jeers for a moment. That night, celebration spilled into the yard, bonfire crackling, locals mingling wary with city allies, beers clinking like truces. Sarah came, graceful in jeans and a sweater, hugging Jerry fierce. Took balls to come back, she said, eyes twinkling. Ty's lucky, Ellie darted between legs, flower crown askew, declaring Jerry her castle knight. But as embers died, a shadow detached from the treeline, Harlan himself, coat flapping like broken wings, eyes wild under street lamp glow. You think this ends it? He hissed, breath fogging. Close enough Jerry smelled the whiskey on him. Ruining good men for your agenda? Tyler stepped forward, broad as a barrier. Get off our land, Harlan, or I'll make the call. But the doctor laughed. Bitter bark. Our land? Bought with filthy money from your perversion. He lunged then, not at Tyler, but Jerry, hands clawing for the throat, face twisted in fanatic fury. Time slowed. Tyler's tackle, bodies hitting mud, shouts rising from the yard, Micah dialing 911. Jerry staggered back, pulse roaring, as cops hauled Harlan away, cuffs clicking final. Conversion's a crime now, an officer grunted, reading rights into the night. Thanks to folks like you, the arrest broke Harlan wide, confessions tumbling in the station, a paper trail of abuses spanning decades. The suit ballooned, settlements pouring like rain after drought. Jerry watched from the porch next morning, coffee steaming, as news vans clustered at the road. Tyler wrapped arms around him from behind, chin on shoulder. It's over, but Jerry shook his head, turning into the embrace. Nah. Just the intermission. Summer burned hot. The house alive now. First residents moving in, runaways from Bible belts and boardrooms, therapists hosting circles in the sunroom. Jerry split time between Elmwood and Chicago, his firm thriving on the redemption real estate angle. Properties flipped not just for profit but purpose. Tyler sold the feed store, pocketed enough for a down payment on a farmstead outside town, space for horses and healing. Ellie started kindergarten, her backpack stuffed with drawings of Papa Ty and Daddy J, the labels blurring lines Jerry once feared. Yet betrayals echo lingered, subtle as a fault line. One August evening, digging through attic boxes for heirlooms, Jerry found the letters, Tyler's, bundled with rubber bands, postmarked from Elmwood during those lost years. Dozens, scrawled in that familiar slant, J. I drove to the city again today. Checked every hostel, every park. If you get this, no, I'm sorry. I should have fought harder. Love, Ty. Mailed to the camp, returned unopened. His parents' forwarding block, a silent sabotage to protect him. Rage boiled fresh, not at Tyler, but the machine that ground them down. He confronted them at dinner, letters fanned on the table like evidence. Mom blanched, fork trembling. We thought it would confuse you more, help you focus on healing. Dad stared at his plate, jaw tight. Feared he'd pull you deeper into it. Jerry's voice shook, but held. Deeper into love? That's the sin you guarded against. Tears carved tracks down Mom's face. Dad reached across, hand gnarled. We were wrong, son. Again. Forgive us. The question hung, raw as exposed wiring. Jerry exhaled slow, gathering the letters. Working on it. But no more secrets. Fall gilded the leaves. Harvest fairs lighting Elmwood in amber nostalgia. Jerry and Tyler walked the midway hand in hand. Deliberate, defiant, Ellie between them on sugar highs from cotton candy. Whispers followed, but fewer now, drowned by the midway din. At the Ferris wheel, creaking skyward, the world shrank to their car. Tyler's arm around shoulders, Ellie's head on Jerry's lap, the lights below a mosaic of mending. This is it, Tyler murmured, kissing Temple. Our empire, but empires crack. Chicago called insistent, a deal on the table, a high-rise in Pilsen primed for queer youth housing, millions in play. Lead it, his partner urged over speaker. You're the face now. Jerry hesitated, staring at the skyline sketch on his desk, Elmwood's roots tugging. Tyler noticed, of course always did. Go if it calls, he said that night. Bodies entwined in the master bed, sheets tangled like fates. We'll follow. Families portable. But Jerry heard the undercurrent, the farm, the store's ghost, Ellie's school ties. Sacrifice whispered, a devil on one shoulder, ambition the angel on the other. The decision crystallized in crisis. Harlan's trial hit fever pitch, opening arguments painting him as monster or martyr. Jerry testified again, graphic, unflinching, the room a pressure cooker of sobs and scowls. Outside, protesters clashed, faith warriors versus pride flags, fists flying in the snow-dusted square. Tyler shielded Ellie from the TV, but Jerry dove in, rallying allies for a countermarch. Not hiding anymore, he declared to cameras, megaphone amplifying resolve. The night before verdict, alone in a Syracuse hotel, Tyler home with Ellie, doubt assailed. Calls from investors pulling back. Too hot. Jerry. Cool it. Verdict day dawned bitter. Wind howling off the lake. Guilty on all counts. Harlan led away in orange. Empire dust. Cheers erupted, but Jerry slipped out quiet. The victory hollow amid the fallout. His firm hemorrhaging clients. Bored whispering distraction. Back in Elmwood, Tyler waited on the porch, face shadowed. Saw the news. You okay? Jerry collapsed beside him, head in lap. Won the battle, losing the war. Chicago's circling wagons want me gone. Tyler's fingers carded hair gentle. Then let we build here. Your halfway house? It's working. Kids like us. Healing. The choice settled heavy but right. No penthouse views, but roots deep in tainted soil, turning poison to fertile ground. Jerry called his partner. Pass. Got a legacy here. Relief flooded. Then fear, finances tight. The house's mortgage his alone now. Tyler sensed it, pulling him inside to the firelit living room. Ellie tucked away. Partners. Remember, I sold the store, savings for rainy days. They mapped it out over wine. Co-op shares for the house. Grants for the program. Tyler's hand steady on Jerry's knee. Thanksgiving brought convergence. Family crammed the table. Mom's turkey golden. Dad carving with uncharacteristic grace. Sarah and her new beau passing roles. Micah toasting from afar via Zoom. Ellie led Grace, lisping thanks for 2 daddies and no more mean words. Laughter bubbled, real and rare, cutting through old wounds. After dishes soaking, Jerry and Tyler stepped out back. Garden dusted frost, stars sharp overhead. "This," Jerry said, breath fogging, "this is the fix they couldn't give me." December wrapped Elmwood in tinsel and tension. Holiday lights strung like fragile hopes across Main Street, twinkling against the dark underbelly of unresolved reckonings. Jerry's house pulsed with life now, residents' laughter echoing from common rooms, therapy dogs padding hallways, the air scented with pine from the communal tree Ellie had helped decorate, ornaments clinking like wind chimes of second chances. But success bred scrutiny. The program, dubbed Redemption Reclaimed, drew national eyes, NPR spots, a New York Times profile framing Jerry as the prodigal son turned prophet. From conversion camp survivor to sanctuary builder, the byline read, his face on the cover staring back resolute. Tyler cropped out to protect privacy. The exposure cracked open floodgates. Donations poured, yes, but so did threats, anonymous emails laced with venom. "You'll burn like Sodom," a slashed tire on Micah's rental during his visit. Jerry doubled security, cameras blinking red-eyed vigilance. But sleep evaded, nightmares replaying Harlan's lunge, morphing into his parents' faces twisted in judgment. Tyler anchored him, mornings with coffee and quiet plans for their wedding simple, spring affair in the garden, vows under the roses mom tended like penance. "Rings yet?" Tyler teased one dawn, nuzzling neck over the sink. Jerry grinned, suds dripping. "Patience, cowboy. Got a designer in the city crafting steel and sapphire. Tough as us." Ellie amplified the joy, her world expanding to include house brothers, the residents, who taught her card tricks and bedtime stories sans brimstone. One evening, she crawled into Jerry's lap during story hour, whispering, "Daddy J, are you a hero like in books?" He choked up, hugging her close. "Nah, kiddo. Just a guy who got lucky in love." Tyler watched from the doorway. I soft, the tableau etching permanent in Jerry's heart. A family forged, not born. Yet betrayal's ghost stirred anew. Christmas Eve, amid eggnog and carols, Dad pulled Jerry aside to the garage, toolbox open like a confessional. "Found this in the rafters," he said gruff, handing over a shoebox, yellowed envelopes, Jerry's handwriting slashing across. Letters to Tyler, never mailed, penned in camp fever dreams. "Ty, if you get this, know I fought. Don't let them win." Dad's eyes watered, rare vulnerability cracking the facade. "Hid 'em after you left. Thought destroying them would help you move on. Burned half before I stopped." The admission landed like embers on skin, another layer peeled, revealing the rot of good intentions. Jerry's rage flared brief, box crumpling in fists. "You played God with my heart, Dad. Again." He stormed out, snow crunching under boots, breath ragged plumes in the chill. Tyler found him at the water tower base, flask in hand, bourbon again. Tradition now. "He told me," Tyler said, settling beside, hip to hip. "Idiot move, but he's trying. Like us." Jerry passed the flask, the burn steadying. "Trying's not enough when it scars." They sat long, stars wheeling overhead, until cold drove them home, arms linked, the the box a talisman of truths unearthed. New Year's dawned crisp. Resolutions whispered over black-eyed peas. Jerry vowing presence over ambition. Tyler committing to therapy for the family, unpacking the masculinity myths that chained him young. The town simmered, grudges mellowing to murmurs. The pastor preached radical grace from the pulpit, a nod to Jerry's congregation of 2 in the back pew. Spring bloomed tentative, tulips pushing through garden soil, wedding plans solidifying, invites etched simple, vows penned in Jerry's looping script. But climax crested unbidden. Mid-May, as arbors twined with jasmine for the ceremony, a courier arrived, envelope sealed, from Harlan's estate. The doctor had hanged himself in his cell. Note sparse. Forgiven? No. Free? Yes. Accompanying, a flash drive, files spilling decades of records, names, faces, the camp's ledger of souls saved. Jerry watched it alone first. In the sunroom's hush, videos grainy, boys like him, breaking under prayers and pills. Nausea rose, but resolve hardened, leaked to allies, the drive fueling federal probes, closing camps nationwide. The weight buckled him that night, Tyler finding him curled on the floor, sobs racking. "It's done," Jerry gasped. Drive clutched like contraband. All of it over. Tyler held him through the storm, rocking gentle. "You ended it, Jay." Hero shit. Dawn brought clarity. A press conference in the yard, residents flanking, Ellie holding a sign "Love Heals." Cameras rolled as Jerry spoke, voice steel. Harlan's gone, but his shadows linger. This house, it's our light. Join us. The feed went viral. Donations surging. The program expanding to satellite sites. Wedding day broke golden. Garden abloom under blue skies. Chairs arrayed in rows of reclaimed wood. Mom walked Jerry down the aisle, her arm steady, tears proud. Past faces old and new. Micah beaming ringside. Sarah dabbing eyes with Ellie as flower girl. Petals scattering like confetti of release. Tyler waited at the arch. Suit rumpled charming. Grin splitting face. Vows exchanged simple. "I choose you." "Scars and all," Jerry said. Ring sliding cool on finger. "Build with me," Tyler echoed. Kiss ceiling under cheers and chimes. Honeymoon was local cabin in the Hocking Hills. Ellie with grandparents. Days of hikes and nights tangled in flannel sheets. They talked futures. Adopting another, perhaps, scaling the network coast to coast. "No more running," Tyler murmured one dusk. Fireflies rising around their blanket. Jerry nodded, head on chest. "Just forward." Return brought normalcy laced with grace. Dad helping with Ellie's homework, sharing tools for house tweaks. Mom's quilt for the nursery, stitched with symbols of acceptance, rainbows subtle in the threads. Elmwood evolved slow, pride flags on porches, a youth center in the old VFW. Jerry's influence a quiet tide. Betrayals faded to footnotes. Scars to stories told over beers. Yeah, they tried to fix me. But love, that's the only cure. Years spun, Ellie off to college. Majoring in social work, the network a beacon. Chapters in Atlanta and Austin. Jerry and Tyler, silver-threaded now, walked the garden paths, hands linked, roses nodding approval. One evening, porch swing creaking familiar, Jerry turned to Tyler, lines etched deep but eyes bright. "Worth it? All the fight." Tyler pulled him close, kiss soft as memory. every damn scar. We're the fix, Jay. We always were. And in that swing's rhythm, under stars that witnessed it all, they rocked. Home not a place, but the man beside, the love that outlasted storms.